I had been a student in Nebraska. I got a full baseball scholarship to go to a small school in Nebraska, and I lived out there. And then I came home. I didn't really know what to do next, so I was just working, and I was looking at getting like an apartment. And I was like, well, I don't really want to spend $1,000 a month on apartments. So I pitched it to my old man that I was just going to build a little tiny house. And so instead of paying rent each month, I just dumped all the money into building this. Yeah, so I built it from scratch. I actually dragged that trailer out of a lady down the yard, or out down the road's yard. I kept driving by it on my way to work and just saw it was in the middle of her field. So I just gave her $300 and I dragged it up here. I just started building on it. Growing up, I always built like tree forts. That was like my childhood, was basically spent outside stealing my grandfather's tools and just building things and salvaging lumber from like the dump and things, and insane tree forts. So ironically, I worked construction after I built my house. So afterwards, I got all this experience of, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that, but it turned out pretty well, so I'm okay with it. It's a old Caterpillar trailer, so it's, I don't know what they built it out of, but everything's super over-engineered. So I think my house is the heaviest tiny house I know of. It's like 14,000 pounds. I'm 6'4", about 275 pounds. So all the heights are all built like just comfortably above my head. So that's like, you know, I don't know what, like 1.5 inches probably. I wanted to make it even taller, you know, 2 inches above my head or 3 inches, but I wanted to be able to sit up in the middle of the loft. So there's just barely enough room to sit up there. So I had to like figure out all these like, I had to map out how tall the loft would be and then how tall this would be and where I could adjust and how much I could. So it's almost perfect for me to sit up there, and then I use the rest of the room right here. So I have a little bit of headroom. When you're building it for you, you can just be like, oh, this is how I want it, and just do it. Yeah, so I'm in law school and I work for attorneys. So, I mean, all those books are all law books. One of the main things I needed was I need a lot of desk space to spread out papers and work. You know, most of my life is centered right here. It's about 5 feet, it's about 20 inches, and I got a stainless steel top. It's industrial grade steel, so it scratches, and I'm fine with that. I just got them to put one bend on it there and one bend on it here, and away I went. The steel top was like $120 for the whole sheet, and it actually runs all the way to the closet. The bookshelf was an afterthought, so you can see it runs back there. So everything else is built around the desk, because I knew I needed the desk, so I built the desk, and then I built everything else around it. So then I decided, holy crap, it'd be great to have a bookshelf right here. So then I built the bookshelf in next to it. So then I built storage underneath that, and then it evolved into, on the other side, now there's like shoe storage. So so the shoes like slide in, then we have sock storage, more socks. I mean, it's all about using little nooks. This is the wheel well. So above the wheel well is booze storage. So everything is super customized for exactly what I would needed or wanted at that time. So the desk is separated from the kitchen by the closet on this side. So I'm in law school and I work for attorneys. So this closet, I mean, the top is like dry cleaning, suit, jackets, you know, like the usual. I remember the first time I went and bought a suit, it was very funny because he told me, hey, you have to get cedar hangers. I was like, well, why do I need cedar hangers? They're very expensive. He's like, well, otherwise the moths will eat them. And I was like, he got the greatest look on his face. So I was like, well, my closet's solid cedar. All the wood is all cedar, so I have no moth problems at all. So I just use all the leftover trim from all of like this stuff and just line the whole closet in cedar. So eventually I will have to wear like, you know, suits all the time and stuff. So yep, stages of life. Okay. And then there's a bottom closet, which is way more fun. Wow. So the bottom closet designed is I did racks for pants. So I have a bunch of stuff at dry clean right now. So there's 3 sets of pants right there, but it holds 6. And so those just slide back in. It was one of those things where I sat here with like a chisel, like adjusting to make sure like it worked right. Cause it would like hit on the sides, and like the door swing got in the way. And so I just remember sitting there for, you know, like an hour just figuring out to make sure it got all, cause it has to be square. Otherwise, if it's not square, it doesn't slide either. So it has to be like perfectly squared. I'm definitely a tinkerer, and that's fine with me. But in the back behind these, what I did is I built little shoe storage racks. I can stick a bunch of shoes back there. So probably 6 more pairs of shoes or so. And then you enter the kitchen. This is I think it's granite. I got it from Habitat for Humanity for like $100, and it had like a cabinet on the bottom. And I just tore the cabinet off of it and then just built a framework of plywood essentially and set it on top. So it came with a little stainless steel sink. And in retrospect, if I could do it all again, I would get one with a bigger sink, because washing dishes in a little bar sink sounds so romantic, but not the case. I've actually looked at miniature dishwashers that I could fit in this bay that I might consider soon. And that's why I keep very minimal dishes, because I have no room to store them and I don't want to clean them. I'm a 27-year-old, so I have a couple glasses and a pan and a couple bowls and toaster. And you live in a tiny house and then you get a big toaster. That's a 4-slot toaster, why not? Then I have like a little rice maker, and I have a baby crock pot in the back here. So then on the other side is like the cooking side. So I have a convection microwave, so it'll bake. But I got, again, you can choose what you want that to be big. So I got a big microwave. So I've done a small turkey. It was like 12 pounds. I have a pan. This is like the overflow pantry. Here we go. So I bought a pan. So I do casseroles and stuff. But I got it so it's, I mean, that's a huge pan and that fits. But I've done all sorts of crazy stuff in there. There's also this steel little rack. So this fits in there. Yeah. You can put like a steak in there and then a braising pad underneath, and it'll just roast the steak. Like, it's a convection oven. It's a microwave convection oven. So it just sits there and braises it, and then it's all super juicy. It's crazy.
So you can cook anything?
Pretty much you can cook whatever you want in there. Yeah. Underneath it, I was gonna put in like a full range originally, but once I started living here, I was like, okay, first of all, if I had a range right there and turned it on, you would probably just die from the heat. So essentially what I did is I just built a plywood frame, and I decided, hey, I want storage on this side. So there's like a little storage holding up the microwave on this side, but it's stubbed out for propane right there. So if I wanted to put in a cooktop to run on propane, there's actually a propane stub. So eventually in the future, if I wanted to, there'd be propane right there. Underneath that is like recycling. And then the bay next door is garbage. It's all about using these little nooks that you have. So like I have big plans for like putting a little like slide out shelf in here, but for now it just gets to like, I went and bought some potatoes and pasta and cereal and rice. We'll just set it right there. You can tell a lot about a person by what they have in their fridge. You can fit a lot. And I bought one that had a detached freezer, so I have ice cream. So I do a lot of hot plate cooking. Also, I love tiny pans. So I'm basically like a glorified college dorm, essentially. It's essentially a little bit bigger dorm room, and I don't share it with someone. So it works great. Underneath the sink, that's my hot water heater. I don't know why I do this, but I mean, these are like huge stainless steel lines, and I mean, it's got the whole setup in there, but it was a pain to fit it all in, but it's 6 gallons, and it just keeps water hot. One more room. So I did slate tile on the floor, and I liked it because it was pretty. I have a real shower. So it's a 29-inch fiberglass shower on this side with like a glass door. The next thing you'll notice is the box. Since I'm super tall, the shower head got recessed into the ceiling. So, I mean, my head is in that little slot. So if it was gonna be like this, I'd have to be like that in the shower. And that's not what I wanted. So I decided to go with a little slot. And it's very confining. I've got a big shower head, but I mean, I'm taking 5-minute showers because I have 6 gallons of hot water, so no problem for me, whatever. Whatever. But yeah, so the shower is interesting. I remember it was one of the first times I went to get anything off Craigslist and I was slightly terrified. And she said, hey, come over and get these free 2x4s. And she said, oh, I have a shower if you'd want it. And I was like, well, I don't think I have space for a shower. And she goes, oh, it's little. And I was like, so I actually had this before there was anything on the trailer. It was just sitting here ready to go. So, I mean, when you find the thing you need, it worked out great. I try and use a bunch of little space I have. So behind the shower, I had this little 1-foot gap. So I just built some plywood in. So I just throw miscellaneous clothing in there, underwear. And then there's a hamper underneath that. And obviously I need to do a bunch of laundry right now because I'm super busy during the week. So it'll be nice one day when I have a little washer dryer, which would sit right there. Then instead of going to here, I can just go straight in there, get washed, and then come back out. Obviously things that aren't finished. And this used to have a cover on it, and then when we were moving one time, it fell off and shattered on the ground. So I have a straight generic Jenkins humidor toilet. Most people get terrified by it, but it's literally sawdust and a 5-gallon bucket. It's just another biodegradable resource that we have. So eventually everything that's compostable out of my house will go to the same compost pile, including your waste. So I have no problem with that. Oh yes, the last room. I went through a bunch of different ideas on how to get the loft. I had the idea to do a sliding ladder, but it would take up too much real estate to have it slide across. There was the idea to have one that hooks on, but then it was, where does it get stored in the meantime? So I couldn't do a rope ladder because there's too much sway. So what I did is I got steel cables and I literally mounted 2x4 chunks on them. And in order to eliminate the swaying, what I did is I made it so it clips into the floor on these little airline clips. So it just clips in and clips in. I think that whole setup cost like 40 bucks total. It can support, you know, I weigh a lot, so it can support me climbing up, no problem. And then when I'm up here, it just stays down there. It's definitely, everything's like a little kid tree fort, just modern, adultized, essentially. So obviously it's made so I can just barely sit up. So it's literally at my head. But if I would have gone with the regular kind of roof feel that a lot of the, I don't know, earlier Jay tiny house tumbleweed designs went, it would have just been this area, you know, like up to here. So it would have been, you know, the full roof would have just come across right here. And it would have felt like very, literally it would have been like right here. So it's a lot more constricting than putting the dormers on both sides. I wanted windows all around. You know, they all open up. There's a little breeze that comes across. All these little windows open. The window on that far end opens. You can get a really good cross ventilation going on, even when it's really hot. And then it's all really well insulated. So I've wintered out here 2 winters now, and I don't bring a heater or anything out here. With my body heat, the well insulation, and then a blanket, I'm totally fine. And at this end, there's a little bit of room, and like right now I have like a Camelback water bottle, you know, just, you know, whatever, a legal pad and a book. But the idea eventually is to build like a little like headboard into that space. So this is a queen size mattress. So, I mean, if my feet are at the very bottom there, I mean, I still have 6 inches to the end of the mattress. And then that's still 2 feet away from the wall. And then again, it's, you know, it's pretty, it's all cedar. The tiny house people in the boat community are very similar in a lot of regards.
Because you don't think you need a lot to live in.
No, yeah, what else do I need really? I mean, if it's just me, this is fine. I come from like a middle-class standard household, and I'm going to law school, and I can't afford to buy a house. Like, holy crap, like there's no chance. So, but I can't afford to build a little tiny house on wheels and then one day possibly get a piece of land and put it on it. You know, it's something I can do. So the ladder's got to come out first. I'm gonna flip it. Whereas going into a ton of debt and buying a house seems just absolutely ridiculous when I could do it this way. And then people of my age just seem to, we want instant gratification. So I don't want to wait to have a house. So I wanted to have a house now. So I built a house now. You know, whereas I could have waited a few years and then theoretically bought some small house, I wanted to build a house. And I just wanted to do it my way, essentially. We're kind of rebellious like that, so.
What did it cost you?
I have about $25,000 in it, which isn't too bad considering. A lot of that includes the tools that I bought along the way, and I have lots of tools. So the storage loft basically has become now my tool collection. So this is a 6-foot ladder. This is a chop saw stand. Oh, this one's probably, I think this is my miscellaneous box. So, you know, razor blades, sawzall blades. I'm kind of obsessed. The law firm I work at actually had me drill 2-inch holes through all the desks for the wiring. So I think the first week I didn't even do any law work. I was just like doing handyman work, like drilling holes and, but so yeah. So these get, I actually have 4 boxes like that up there. There's a second one, and then there's one behind that one, and then one behind that one as well. So lots of tools.
How did you learn, you know, you said you used to make tree hat boards and stuff. How did you learn how to make sure this is structurally sound?
A lot of it was on YouTube, actually, like just watching other people do little things. The most difficult part is attaching the trailer to the house. Since they're basically 2 parts and then you put it together. So like right here, So like you see all the little bolts. And so my philosophy for that was we just over-engineered everything. So it's a wood frame on top of the trailer. That frame is bolted to the frame, or to the trailer frame. And then I put plywood on that. It's an inch thick plywood. And then I took 5-inch screws and I shot it through the plywood, through the whole frame of the wood. The whole framing now has these giant screws going through the plywood, through the framing, the whole thing. And so they're like landscaping screws, essentially. They're just these monster screws. And so everything is just super absurdly over-engineered so that it's not gonna fall off the trailer, essentially. But it also made it absurdly heavy. So it's like pros and cons.
First time driving must be scary.
Yeah, especially since I didn't know about the trailer really, and we had it up to like 65 and it was fine, which was terrifying for me since I'm the one that built it all. I definitely had that fear when we were driving the first time that it was gonna fall apart, but now that we've driven it 3 or 4 times, I mean, it's not going nowhere.
You don't have any engineering experience and you didn't hire an engineer or anything like that?
No. Originally I hired a contractor to help me build the frame and the base and get it all structurally solid. But after that, I was like, okay, I can take it from here. I figured I would just build the box and then basically figure out what I wanted to do on the inside from there. So I literally built the walls, the whole box, and then everything else after that was like an afterthought. Then I was like, oh, let's put a porch on the front. Oh, let's put a loft on the front. Oh, let's put a loft on the back, you know. Those were in my head, but I didn't really have it all mapped out or anything. We just did it. The hose connection for the water is literally right there. So the hose goes into a filter and then just goes inside right there. So this is the bathroom right here. And so there's actually a little door that's actually stubbed out water. So there's gonna be a washer dryer combination unit that sits there one day. So the floor, it's like a 110-year-old oak. I was on Craigslist one day and this guy just said oak flooring and that was it. And it was $100. And it was 148 square feet. And the house itself was like 152 for the box. But yeah, I mean, it's very strange how many little things just came together. So I built a big couch. The whole thing is just, you know, it's all cedar. So there's tools. Literally all the cubbies are probably tools, lumber. It's actually very easy for me to fit on it. And I'm very big. It all works.
Is that the guest bed?
It could be. It's about 6.5 feet because I'm 6'4". So I wanted to be big enough for me to lay on comfortably. So I've had a couple buddies come home from the bar and be like, hey, I'm not going home. I'm like, cool, sleep on my couch. So they've just slept there. So it works out fine. Okay. Most of my life is spent with the books. We'll go with con law. I definitely relate to the idea that you work better in a place that you're comfortable with. And so like, you know, like Thoreau per se was very comfortable at Walden Pond because it's a little space and that's really what he was into and he was very comfortable there. So I'm very comfortable with my desk since, you know, I built this, I know every little inch of it. So working here just feels right. It's kind of weird because my office at work is slightly bigger than my house. So in both cases, I'm working in small environments. My office is slightly bigger than this and it just doesn't feel right to me because it's not the same. It's, you know, this big oak desk and computer and books everywhere. It's just not the same feel. So I definitely feel like I work a lot better right here, just sitting here, books out, ready to go. Get a lot more done. One day when I'm an attorney, the idea has come to mind that I'll like work in the city and have an apartment and then park this like up the coast, like further north in the middle of nowhere and just go to it on weekends and just hang out and have like a boat. A little fortress of solitude.
And your parents don't mind you living here?
No, my parents are probably way too supportive of my life. They really like me being around to like put their dogs to bed and like take care of little things around the place. So I'm definitely anxious to go somewhere else, but it works out for everybody that I'm just hanging out. I'm single, I don't date, I just go to school and work full time and very career oriented right now. If I decide to have a family or start dating or something, I'll go away from my tiny house. But until then, I'll just live in here and save money. So that one day when that happens, I can be like, hey, you want a house? Cool. Here's the down payment. Have fun. Like, pick out whatever you want. Bum, bum, da, da, da. Bum, bum.